So today we're going to be checking out some viewer submissions, and we're going to be listening to them with a critical but compassionate ear. So we're going to try and figure out what's good about them, but also what could be improved. We're going to try and figure out how to get good at music. So our first submission comes from Dick Wilds, a 22-year-old bassist from Boston. Let's listen. Nice. Prelude to the first Bach cello suite. It's a lot of fun to play on bass. It's nice. It's a little slow. Okay, great job. I like the tone, I like the selection. The Bach cello suites are some of my favorite pieces of music in the entire world to play on bass. I do think you could take it a little bit faster though. The Bach cello suites are dance suites, so there's supposed to be this rhythmic energy to them, including the preludes. Now I don't see any gigs or minuets or sarabands going viral on TikTok anytime soon, but I like to think that there's supposed to be kind of a groove going on here. You're a bass player, right? Make it groove. When playing the cello suites on bass guitar, I also like to sometimes reference how classical guitarists play the cello suites. They will often play this first Bach cello suite in the key of D, and then detune their E string to drop D tuning and let that low D string ring out. There's this idiomatic, ringy, resonant quality to those kinds of interpretations. You aren't playing a cello, you're playing a bass guitar, and you want to take advantage of that fact. So check this out. The beauty of this music is that you can actually interpret it one of many different kinds of ways. And you can learn a lot from how different people interpret the same piece of music. Cellists, guitarists, other bass players, violists even, if you really want to go there. So fun fact, viola jokes have their own page on Wikipedia. Congratulations, violists. But anyway, thank you so much for your submission. I really, truly love this piece of music, so thank you for giving me the excuse to talk about it just a little bit. We're off to a very good start here. So our next submission comes from Timothy Nunzetti, and he's playing the Miles Davis composition 4 with his band Melanzana. Let's check it out. Okay, real quick. While Careless Whisper is objectively funny, try and keep the pre-performance noodling to a minimum. It's rather unprofessional. I've been guilty of it before. I'm still guilty of it, but just keep that in mind. Okay, I like that you're doing the drum intro. Not a lot of people do that. Also doing the right chord changes. Bass player's tone is a little burpy. Okay, great start with the jazz. Let's talk about the phrasing on the original recording of 4. On the first 2 little melodic cells, the notes are long, boo-doo-da, boo-doo-da. And then on the second 2 cells, they're short, boo-doo-da, ba-da-da, boo-doo-da. Check it out. Now that information is not found in the real book. All of those notes in the melody here are short. They don't tie over. And that's the important thing about listening to the original recording. It gives you information that wouldn't just be there in the sheet music. Listening to the original recording and being very detail-oriented in how you learn the music goes a long way into getting into the groove of whatever it is that you're doing. I made the comment about the bass player's tone, and yes, electric bass is not great for straight-ahead jazz, but you can do certain things to improve the situation. You can roll down the treble, and you can also play with your right hand above the neck, like right around this area, which gives a much rounder, warmer tone. Anthony Jackson is a bass player that has an amazing sound within the context of straight ahead jazz. To create and also Steve Swallow, who plays with a pick and is still able to get a great tone for this kind of situation. jazz. The key, in my humble opinion, is to be able to play in this area of the bass with your right hand. Something to that effect. Paying close attention to the sound of the original recording will go a long way in developing your own kind of musical expression. So thank you so much for submitting. The next submission comes from Tiana Besant, and she's doing an arrangement of Jasmina Horn's version of The Peacocks, which is a jazz standard. Let's check that out. Okay, piano intro.
The window looked out onto a pattern never ending.
Very sparse.
And trees and little pathways for descending.
It's like Webern or some kind of pointillistic classical. Bass chord, all right.
Where the peacocks proudly grace the sea.
All right, very beautiful. I'm not a singer, so I can't offer you that much in the way of technical advice. But I know somebody who can, and that is, of course, my mom. My mom is a voice teacher. So let's check in with Mama Neely and see what she says about your submission. Hey, Ma.
Hi. What'd you have for dinner tonight?
Let's not talk about that.
Well, my first thought on this example is that it's a beautiful voice, and she clearly has the piano and vocal chops, but the style is not so much jazz as I wonder if she's had some classical training or some European choral singing training. The dead giveaway to if someone has had classical training and has not yet made the transition to Americana styles, and this is simplistic, but the vowels are longer and taller, and in Americana singing, vowels are wider and brighter. The person that she's listening to is Jasmina Horn. You'll notice that when Jasmina Horn sings this, she plays with this tall and long and wide and bright a lot more.
To reflect upon what might have been.
So the first thing I would suggest is that she start to play around with mobility of the face to whiten and brighten until she can get a feel for what that is. I'd love to see her fall in love with the visceral sensation of lips, teeth, and tongue on consonants. Right now it's a little wah, 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 which is sort of a young person's introduction to classical music. Classical singing, if it's really good, is this balance between tall and long and wide and bright. So does that give you enough?
Yes, that gives me plenty. Thank you, Mom.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I miss you.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Mama Neely, everybody. Thank you so much for submitting. I love The Peacocks. It's honestly one of my favorite jazz standards. It's off of Bill Evans' You Must Believe in Spring. That's the first time I ever heard it. It's a really beautiful tune, so thank you. This next one comes from Kabi Adu. Let's check out Kabi. Kill it. Seems like it's a night in Tunisia. So, you say that you want to be able to improvise at fast speeds. This is a very good start. There are a lot of really good ideas here, but I feel like you could leave a little bit more space. Not only that, but like come to really strong conclusions with your phrases. For example, this phrase starts really nice. I like it. Good start, call and response, but then it gets a little waffly. So like, you could have ended that phrase a little earlier and come to a really strong conclusion. I know you really want to get to the fast improvising stuff, but I think you should slow down a little bit because your ideas are great. You just really need to solidify them before you try and speed things up. I hear a lot of really nice things though in your playing, like the way that you play sustained high notes. You're not screeching it like a lead trumpet player, but there's this delicate quality to it, like the way that Miles Davis might shape his notes and kind of massage the timbre over time. That's funny. That's the tune, speaking of Miles Davis. Blue and Green. You have a very Miles Davis kind of approach here. He was not known for his fast, shreddy trumpet licks. He was known for note placement and tone color. And I think you should play to those strengths. But you're well on your way, man. Very good job. Thank you so much for submitting. Our next submission comes from Hannah Hoffman, who did an arrangement of Hava Nagila, inspired by Rhapsody in Blue. Let's check this out. The melodica really does sound like a clarinet. There's the jazz. It's all dotted quarter notes in 3/4. Kind of interesting effect. Very nice. I really like this combination of styles. I can see the influence of Rhapsody in Blue with some of the piano voicings you're using. I almost think you could kind of lean into the Latin jazz salsa tumbao side of things. You already are playing a conga or some kind of djembe thing. I always thought that klezmer textures would work pretty well in Latin context, and Latin jazz is a big part of the jazz tradition, so you're already halfway there. Like, instead of the bass playing on the beat every time, maybe you play the Latin tumbao, which is this figure, which is a little bit more syncopated. Check it out. I don't know, just an idea. I'm having fun with it, and it's clear that you had fun with this arrangement. It's a really nice arrangement, so if I had to make any suggestion, it would probably be incorporate more live percussion. That GarageBand drum sound is doing this arrangement no favors, but anyway, thank you so much for submitting. Let's check out the next one. This is Kevin doing a saxophone quartet version of the Coffin Dance. Bring it, Kevin. First chords kind of sound like Imogen Heap's hide and seek. Heck yeah. That melody works really well on soprano. I love the arrangement. I really like how the arrangement is shaped, like just having the soprano sax and bari sax when the drop hits, and then eventually adding the alto sax and the tenor sax as it builds. Now, unfortunately, the app that you guys used introduced a little bit of recording latency, which is okay for a cappella arrangements, which is normally what these kinds of apps are used for. But with something like this, even the tiniest bit of rhythmic discrepancy between two of the parts ends up adding up over time. So really my advice here is probably more of a recording thing, recording into a free app like GarageBand or Reaper, lining up everything together with a click, nice and steady, and then putting all the videos together in iMovie or something like that. It's a lot more time, yeah, and a lot less convenient than one of these apps, but it does yield a better musical result, and it showcases your guys' talents a lot more. Because honestly, it's a sick arrangement. I like everything about the music and your playing, it doesn't sound like you're together because of the technology involved. So thanks for your submission. Let's check out the next one. This one is from Han. Let's check them out. Okay, 2/3 polyrhythm. Gotta love the polyrhythm. All right. Pretty static so far. Oh, okay. second dissonance, kind of nice. Okay, nice contrast in the B section. Simple, but I think pretty effective. Awesome, okay. I can really see this as a soundtrack to the beginning of like a 90s movie. The kid is running outside and the mom says like, wait, you forgot your backpack. And the kid is already long gone and is like running around. I don't know, it's the beginning of The Sandlot or something. I think orchestrating this a lot more, like adding some strings, pizzicato strings, or some extra textures beyond just piano, because as it is, it's very bare bones, but the initial idea is very evocative and makes me think a much larger, lusher orchestration. It's cool. Add more to it. You don't need to add more sections, you need to add more color. Right now, it's very black and white in a way that's kind of asking for a little bit of a shade of like cerulean. It's a very cerulean piece, wouldn't you say? Anyway, thank you for your submission. Let's check out the next one. This one is from Alex Payne. Insert joke about piano. Anyway, let's have a listen. I'm sure he's never heard that one before. Okay. I got the drunkish groove. Very nice. Wow. Quick contrast. Septuplets. Gotta love me some septuplet swing here. How fast can you count to 7? Very fast. Okay, very cool. That switch between the drunk groove and the 7s was quite abrupt. I think if you went back and forth between those two, it might be a nice contrast, but if you're going into an entirely different section, I think you're gonna need a little bit more of a bridge between that drunken hip hop feel and the very fast piano septuplet thing. I dig it though. That frenetic piano style with the septuplets is reminiscent of modern pianists like Jesus Molina. You got chops, but it's just about applying those chops in a way that doesn't feel quite as abrupt. Maybe at that moment you drop the drums and the bass out for a couple of measures and then they come in. Just something to show that we are now beginning a new section, and it was intentional. It wasn't like we're just going to a random section because we were bored with the old one. Arrangement details like that, I feel like, are the real heart of music. They're the things that tell the story. They're the things that connect people with your musical ideas in a way that makes sense. But I can't hate it. Sevens are cool. Good job. Let's check out the next one, which comes from, all right, so the one that we're gonna end with today is from Drew Vanderwinkle, the baritone sax player from the New York Philharmonic, that big band that I occasionally play with that's fronted by Sarah McDonald. So I know this guy, so I feel like there might be some insider trading that goes on here. This is his submission. He's playing tenor sax with the Speak Freely Trio. Yeah, man. Okay, yeah. That Moog bass. SPD samples, Dilla beat-ish. Like the wonky rhythms there on that deep snare. So I wanted to play this last because all of those elements that I was calling out as we were listening to it, they make up the New York City jazz sound. This is something that you would definitely hear if you were ever to go into New Blue in the Lower East Side on like a Monday night. This is the sound of New York City circa 2020, or at least it was prior to the lockdown. I've talked with other musicians a lot about the sounds of different cities. Yeah, we're interconnected, but at the same time, there's something very much grounding us to the physical space that we're in. What's exciting for me in this series, How to Get Good at Music, is seeing how everybody plays from around the world. We saw today a variety of different kinds of musicians playing different styles of music with a variety of different aptitudes on their instrument and in their style. And through that, we get a brief glimpse of who they are, where they're from, and what they want to say with their music. We get a brief glimpse of the rich tapestry of musical expression, and that's awesome to see. I am enormously inspired when I go through everybody's submissions for this thing. I'm sorry if you didn't get chosen for this video. There were almost 700 submissions, but if you'd like to be considered for the next one, please follow me over at Instagram. It's _Adam Neely. I'm gonna be announcing where the next one occurs over there. If you enjoy this channel and what I do here, please consider joining my Patreon, because it's the patrons over at my Patreon that make content like this possible. I'm enormously grateful to all of my patrons for their continued support. And thank you so much, everybody, for submitting, for watching, and for enjoying this music. And hopefully you learned a little bit more about how to get good at music.